Hey, good morning. It is Sunday, January 24th, getting near the end of the month. I'm back out in the shop this morning and I'm gonna do the chine fiberglassing schedule today. So that's, I've got my product here, got my 4-inch, my biaxial, and then my, what is that, 8-inch to go over the top of it. I'll be doing the chines along the top and the bottom, one layer after another. But the first thing that I need to do, since I let this cure for a week, I need to kind of knock it down with some 80 grit to make sure it's roughed up with the shine off it. And for what it's worth, the sander is good, but the carbide scraper comes to the rescue again, really. This is my tack. The tacking that I did to sort of temporarily secure the chines to the boat bottom. And what I did is I made the mud or the peanut butter as per recipe, put it into a Ziploc baggie, a stout one, a freezer bag, nipped the corner and then squeezed it in, kind of caulked it into the cracks between the zip ties. So now what I'm gonna do is that I've got everything sanded and scraped and nice and level, I'm going to vacuum out the grit that collected in these, make up another batch of peanut butter and squeeze it in to fill this, smooth it over, and then I'll start wetting down the whole thing. Okay, I'm gonna try a little experiment here, trying to innovate, help you guys out. So, on a cottage cheese container, I have slipped a quart freezer baggie to the inside, pushed it in nice and snug. Now I'm going to fill it with epoxy, add the wood flour and silica, mix it up. Then all I have to do is zip the baggie shut, nip a corner, and I can start filling in those cracks. We'll see how well it works, if it does. Be a little extra careful when you're mixing it. You're going to insert the bag like that. So I'm trying to squeeze out the air. Seal up everything up. And you kind of work it a little bit. Maybe that's probably not a bad thing either. Gripping from the top and the side. Okay. Finish the boat. Maybe I'll take a piece for you. Thank you. And there you go. That worked really well. I was able to just squeeze it into the gaps. Smooth it back in. I pasted the extra in here, and that's all the extra that I have left over. Nothing left over, and all the gaps are filled. So at this point, I'll call that a success. So before I actually do lay down the fiberglass, of course, I need to pre-wet everything. I pre-wetted the middle and the sides, and now I'm going to build up, fill it down the center section, and then I'll move on to laying down the fiberglass. So you can see here I got my first layer of tape on the chine on the inside. Since I had the chine already wet, I decided to see what would happen if I just rolled the entire length out there, and it stayed down pretty well. Then I mixed up a batch of epoxy. Well, I'm sure somebody else has figured this out, but I just kind of came up with a really handy way to squeeze out epoxy. So squeezing it into a Cool Whip container, and then I punched a hole in the lid and put the lid on. And it's really cool because I can just go along and squeeze out a nice little bead and then follow it up with my little trowel here and squeeze it out. Alright, so I've got the 4-inch 10-ounce down on the one side, or on both sides now. I just laid down the 6-inch biaxial, however you say it. Doing it the same way, rolling it out, and then adding a little bit of epoxy to it, squeegeeing it in. Now I'm about to do the other side, and what I'm finding is this is actually going really well. It takes a few minutes for the fiberglass cloth to wet out. So I lay it down, get it in place, squeegee it a couple times to keep the epoxy from pooling, and then I run the roller up and down it once or twice just to get off the excess. And in the 5 or 10 minutes that's going to sit there while I work on the other side, it'll completely wet out and be ready for the next layer. So what you see here is the first layer of the 4-inch. That went down really well. And then over here, I've got the 4-inch underneath with the biaxial on top. And I laid it down the same way, just trying to follow that seam. Well, I'm telling you guys, that is a lot of work. I got all 3 seams completely taped. Look really good, I think. All 3 of the different tapes. I'll wet it out well, lines up. I think it looks good. Plugged a lot of holes while I was in there. And that worked up half the sweat. That is just really hard work. I guess before I hang up for the day, I should say thanks for people who've liked my page or subscribed. I don't do this professionally. I've never done podcasts before, or whatever you call these things. It's a lot of fun. It's interesting because you kind of put yourself out there for critique, and that's fine. Hopefully I'll learn something from that. And I've had a few good comments, and I appreciate that. But I am enjoying this. Anybody who can come after me and learn from either my successes or my failures, it's great. I'm glad to help. You can contact me through the Great Alaskan website if you're interested in building one of these. Brian Dixon there is a great resource. He's super helpful. If you have any questions, he's the designer and engineer of the boat, and he's for 15 years he's just been an on-hand support staff to get these boats built. It's kind of amazing, and it's a lot of fun. Super satisfying. It's just really cool to see something happen each week. See get to a milestone and see a little bit more of that boat coming out of the wood. I guess that's it. Have a great week, everyone. I need to clean these scissors or they will never open again.